Hey everyone, it's me, Mimi Combs, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the Heroes of Olympus books by Rick Riordan. In this series there are 5 books, all which are pretty long, and I'm going to try to touch on my opinions of and what's happening in these books without giving away any big plot points that would spoil the series for you guys. However, some of my topics that I go over might give away portions of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians books, so you have been warned, but I'm going to really try to focus this on just what my opinions are and how I think this series went. I recently read all 5 of these books during quarantine, so I have a very fresh memory of everything that happened in them, and I'm honestly really impressed with myself that I was able to read that much, because I got through these in like under 2 weeks. It was fairly quick, and yeah. And these are not short books. The first book in the Heroes of Olympus series is The Lost Hero, and the basic premise for this book is that there's 3 characters, Jason, Piper, and Leo. Jason wakes up, has no memory of his life, who he is, or anything, and Piper and Leo are his 2 friends and they're on this school trip. After a series of events, they end up at Camp Half-Blood and discover that all 3 of them are demigods. And another aspect is that Percy has gone missing from Camp Half-Blood and Annabeth is desperately trying to find him. So, of course, like every Percy Jackson, Rick Riordan demigod book, they go on a quest and a lot goes down. And it's pretty good and pretty interesting. It's just like kind of like the basic storyline, like quest sort of thing. And you're introduced to a lot of new characters that you get to know over this book and over the entire series. I definitely really enjoyed this book and I thought it was pretty fun to read. The next book is The Son of Neptune, and I guess you guys can tell from the title that it is about Percy. So this book we get Percy's side of what's happening while he's been missing, and it's kind of similar in structure to the first book in the series because we get 3 demigods on a quest. And you get to learn that Camp Half-Blood isn't the only place out there for demigods, without spoiling too much, and you get kind of to see this other perspective, kind of like a mirror perspective of what's going on. I enjoyed this book, but not as much because I felt like it was very similar to the first book and I could kind of see what was going to happen later on. And I think the main purpose of this book was just to build character and to build setting. So in that perspective, like, I didn't really think this was too exciting or have too much going on, but it's definitely like something you've got to read to understand anything going on in the series. Like, you can't skip a book. But if I was to reread a book, I'm not sure that Son of Neptune would be that one, and I'm also not sure if Lost Hero would, because these ones I feel like are kind of just setting up the rest of the series and giving you new characters and just little quests to kind of get you to know the characters. The third book of this series is The Mark of Athena, and I've heard a lot of people say that this is their favorite Rick Riordan book like ever. I don't know whether or not I would agree with that. I think this one is either my favorite or my second favorite, or like, I like the Percy Jackson books, but out of these I think this one is one of the best. It is definitely like kind of like the climax, you know, it's like the middle of the middle of everything. Of course it's not the climax, like there's a big ending, but it has a lot of really great stuff, and in this one everything from the first 2 books kind of come together and you get this really cool like adventure sort of quests like usual, but there's just a lot going on and I think it's really good for all the characters and stuff. However, the cliffhanger, I honestly didn't think it was much of a cliffhanger, but I guess if the books came out and you were reading them, like, it would be kind of intense. But now that they're all out, I mean, it's fine. Just like go and pick up the other book and see what happens. The 4th book in the series is House of Hades. I really liked this one. This is probably the one that I'm competing with Mark of Athena for my favorite book in the series, and it just has a lot of like other great like group dynamics and like adventure-y group quest moments in it. I'm not entirely sure how to talk about this without spoiling anything, but there are 2 different kind of like plot lines going on within this book, and I really enjoy the one that's displayed on the cover. I think that that really makes the whole book like really great. And honestly, you could probably like read this book and skip chapters, and you could get like two different things and like read them not simultaneously, if you know what I mean. Like you could read those chapters and then skip the chapters again and read from other perspective, and it would be a really interesting way to read the book as well, if that makes sense. I'm really just trying not to spoil it, but you know, it's really good. And yeah. Lastly, we got the Blood of Olympus, and a lot of people thought that this book was actually kind of like a letdown, and honestly I will say like everything building up to it was like so much that I honestly don't know what they could have done, because there's like 4 really long books building up to this one thing, and honestly, yeah, I think it might have been a little underwhelming, but it was worth it. You know, it was like, it was okay, you know, and I enjoyed it. When I was reading it, I was thoroughly invested, but you know, in retrospect, I'm like, they could have made it seem more like exciting. I don't know how to say it, but basically I don't know what to say. I can't really say much about this one except that it was not my favorite. It is definitely exciting and has a lot of plot stuff in it, unlike the first 2 books. So honestly, I feel like if you're rereading this series, you wouldn't necessarily need to reread the first 2 books. Like, these are good if you want to like revisit the characters' backstories, but if you want to read like this giant quest with all 7 of the demigods, you could go and just read these 3. So, I mean, that's always just something to think about. Now that I've gone through all 5 of the books, I kind of want to talk about the main characters of the books and how my opinions about them changed throughout the series. This part of the video might border more towards spoiler-y things, but in retrospect, this part definitely has spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go to this time code. I will try my best not to give away huge plot points, but you know, just you've been warned. First of all, we've got, of course, Percy Jackson, main character. Yeah, you definitely can, he doesn't have much like change to his character. You just see him like grow more, and he's definitely older than in the first couple books. Also, these whole books are like towards an older audience, but I think that you definitely get to see like some maturing of Percy. He has more like aspirations and goals, and most of it is just his relationship with Annabeth. And Annabeth, she like goes through a lot, you know, especially in the 3rd book, you know, Mark of Athena, Annabeth, but I don't know. I feel like there isn't as much for them because they're more just kind of like, you already know about them from the first series, so it's not too much. And then lost hero characters, we've got, starting out with Jason. He's definitely kind of like poster child, like popular guy who is powerful. I definitely think his kind of like tension with Percy is funny and nice to have in there. And then like Piper, I really like Piper. I think it was really great to have an Aphrodite character who wasn't like stereotypical obsessed with their looks and all that stuff, because I would hope if, since I took the quiz, I would hope that I would be more like Piper than like the other Aphrodite kids, because you in this book you definitely learn about some stuff in the Aphrodite cabin, and I don't know man, I don't know. And then Leo, it's a great character. I think, yeah, it's definitely great. I don't know what to say without spoiling it, but I definitely love his whole like 3rd wheel thing even going on in this book. He reminds me of like a Sokka of the group, you know. If you guys know Avatar, but he's definitely kind of just like keeping the mood light, you know. Definitely has a lot of depth and great. Moving on to the characters in Neptune that we're introduced to. This one we meet Hazel and Frank. So Hazel is definitely interesting. Honestly, I get Hazel and Piper confused sometimes. That's kind of terrible. But Hazel, she's powerful, comes in handy, reminds me of Toph. If you can think about it though, like Toph and Hazel are basically the same if you've watched Avatar. And then Frank, I really love what they did with this character over the series. He's like very like pure and like kind and just like a teddy bear. But he could be. He could be. Is that a spoiler? That's definitely a spoiler. So those are the new characters from these two books. I definitely like how they're including like different ethnicities and stuff, because it's not just that they're like, oh, by the way, this character's black or this character's Native American. Like, they actually go into the stuff about it, and I think that's definitely helpful. Like, they go into like how Piper's relationship with her grandfather and like how Hazel grew up in like kind of like segregated place. But I think it's actually really insightful and it's really helpful considering the Percy Jackson books did not do that. And then the character that's in the rest of the books is Nico, and I definitely feel bad because I feel like everybody dislikes Nico at the beginning, and it's kind of sad. Like, they kind of all point out how he's just like in the background and all this stuff, and without giving too much away, I just think they shouldn't have been so rude. Like, honestly, he'd been through a lot. It's definitely good to just see a variety of characters, and like the demigods are something you could really go into like a lot of different aspects about them, and they could have a lot of different problems, so it's good to see like all of them, just like a variety. Those are all the main characters. Should I go through Hedge? Oh gosh, I don't like Coach Hedge, honestly. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I just don't like Coach Hedge at all. I don't know, because I haven't really done much research and stuff. The way that Coach Hedge behaves makes him seem like younger than all of the kids, all the demigods. And that's something I feel like makes me uncomfortable a little bit, because like he should be like smarter than them in some ways, but he just acts like a child, and he's their adult like person that's supposed to be watching them. And a table can do his job just as well as he can. So yeah, that's my opinion on Coach Hedge. I hope you guys don't attack me. I know, you know, he has his good side. So that is my review of the Heroes of Olympus series. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope I didn't spoil too much for you guys. I know the second half kind of got into it, but I hope it didn't get too spoilery. I really tried to like restrain myself, and I really enjoyed these books, and I would definitely recommend you guys read them if you have read the Percy Jackson books, because like honestly, I didn't know that Percy Jackson was such a big character in these books. I thought it was like a spin-off with some other characters like Kane Chronicles or something. But I really enjoyed these, and I'm glad I read them, because it honestly just feels like Percy Jackson book like 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, honestly. And although these ones are longer, they're kind of geared towards like an older audience, I would say. I still think like if you're reading them in order, like it kind of just builds off of the next one. So like the last Percy Jackson book, like they kind of go up in reading level as you go up in reading them, so it doesn't ever feel like a stark change, except for like in length of book, because these ones are definitely longer. But like in reading level, it's pretty even. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for another video. And until then, have a great quarantine. Like, comment, subscribe. I can't do the hand motions because I'm holding up all these books. But, you know, do all that stuff, and bye everyone!